Hi there. The following is just a seed, something I've been working on. I've been trying to work up to doing something Lovecraftian. It's not a genre I feel very confident in, but I thought I'd give it a go. Not through any expectations of success, just the attempt was worthwhile. So this one is called Harrow. The letter arrived on a Thursday morning, dropped against my door with the kind of casual thud that belonged to a utility bill. I picked it up with 4 other missives that lay on my doormat, and subsequently dropped it on my kitchen table while I finished making my morning tea. I made myself some toast with honey, and decided against adding sugar to my tea, before sitting at the kitchen table in my 4-room bungalow in South Cambridge. I was chewing on my first bite when I began sorting through the mail and came upon the one that was to change my course in a way I could never have expected. The first letter had been from an undertaker, details about my father's burial. I had read it half absently, as it was more of a duty than out of family connection. I had not spoken to him in a number of years, and while the initial news of his death from alcohol-related issues had hit me hard, it had quickly burned out as the memories of the last few months living under the same roof as him came back to me. The return address of the letter in question was a hotel in Germany. The name written in the sender field, my Uncle Daniel, looked hurried. I had kept in contact with Daniel over the years, sometimes with Christmas cards, but sometimes with pleasant dinners when he was in town for business, as an antique dealer of some reputation. The letter was addressed to my father. I had paused in my chewing. The mail had been redirected, and I had so far failed to contact Uncle Daniel about my father's death. I admit I struggled to open the missive. The positive feelings I had towards my uncle warring with the less positive ones I had about my father for a moment. I had no idea what the two of them talked about, and was not sure I should intrude, even now the old man was dead. I broke the seal and then stopped as I looked at the return address. The thought occurred belatedly that I could call the hotel and finally inform my uncle of my father's death. I grabbed my phone and entered the address into a search engine to get the number and, switching to the landline, dialed it. Hotel Adler, guten Tag. I hesitated. My German was limited to what I had learned in school, and found that, in the moment and under pressure, I couldn't remember any of it. Hello. English? Do you speak English? A pause, then muffled voices, the receiver half covered. A different voice came on, slower, older, but still heavily accented. Hello, reception speaking. Thank you. I'm trying to reach one of your guests, Daniel Harrow. He should be staying with you. The man repeated the name, flattening the vowels in a way I won't try and repeat here, turning Harrow into something unrecognizable. I heard him typing, or at least making the sound of typing. Yes, Mr. Harrow. He checked out. Relief flickered, brief and misplaced. Checked out when? I asked. Yesterday morning, came the response. That didn't make sense to me. The letter had arrived this morning. It must have been posted days ago. I tried to calculate the timeline, but the man continued before I could ask. The computer says he left very early. I thought about this, then asked, did he leave a message, a note, anything? No message. A pause. He paid, he returned his key, and left. Did he say where he was going? I asked, hopefully. No, I'm afraid not, was the only response. I tried again. Can you tell me if he left anything behind? A bag? Papers? The response came after a moment. No, nothing. His room is empty now. The line went quiet, except for the faint hum of the hotel lobby behind him, and risked becoming awkward as we both waited for the other to say something. I see, I said eventually, though I felt mild concern and confusion. Thank you for checking. Yes, of course. His tone was of one that seemed to think the call had already gone on much longer than necessary. I appreciate your help, I added, because old habits die hard, and I felt the need to uphold the stereotype of the polite Englishman in the face of the somewhat terse words of the person on the other end of the line. A non-committal sound came through the receiver, somewhere between a yah and a grunt. "If he returns," I said, "could you ask him to contact me? I can give you my number if you don't have caller ID." There was a pause long enough that I wondered if he had heard me. "Yes, the number is showing and I have written it down," he said finally. "If he returns, I'll tell him someone called for him." It didn't sound like the man expected it, but I forged on just in case. "Thank you. I'm Nate Harrow, his nephew," I said quickly, half worried that he would hang up before I could tell him. "Understood, Herr Harrow. If the gentleman returns, I will leave a message for him to call you. Will there be anything else?" There was a sound of hope in the man's voice, like the call was coming to an end and he could see the light at the end of the tunnel. I had a mental image of him leaning down towards the phone's cradle, to be closer to it when it was finally time to hang up. "Thank you, no. Have a good day," I said distractedly, my eyes moving back to the letter on the table. "And you, sir," was the reply. The line clicked and the dial tone replaced him. I set the handset back onto the cradle and exhaled, more out of habit than emotion. Then, as I thought about it for a moment, I did feel a small amount of frustration at the situation and felt my brow crease. At least I knew Daniel had been there, recently even, which is more than I had known 5 minutes earlier. My uncle had always been a man who would travel rather than stay home. From what I had gathered, it had been like that since he got into the antiques trade. I sat back at the kitchen table and pushed my tea aside as I picked up the envelope again. I slid a finger into the small tear I had made previously and finished the job along the envelope's top edge.